Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Land of Brand Laboratory. I am Holly Chantal, your master guide and host today. This is the LOBoratory, where we meet every Wednesday and we talk about different strategies in your building your brand. And basically, the premise here is that in order for you to grow your coaching business, you constantly have to be experimenting, reflecting, and adjusting. And what I'm going to be sharing with you every week are different experiments to be trying in your business. Basically, a different idea to try on for size, a different strategy to implement into your business, ways for you to really blaze your own trail and create the business of your dreams. And today, we are going to be talking about the curse of the trailblazer, because sometimes it's hard being so awesome. And how do you maintain momentum in your business when you are blazing your own trail? Because what I find often happens is trailblazers get ideas, they get excited about moving forward with something, but then never seems to come to fruition, or things tend to fall by the wayside. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. So trailblazers are full of ideas. I mean, this is what we do. We don't do things the way everyone else would expect. So these are the hallmarks of a trailblazer. They don't do everything that as everyone else would expect. Your professional title does not accurately capture what you do. And you don't just, implement strategies because you see what everyone else is doing. You watch what everyone else is doing and you decide what makes for sense to you, and then you take it up a notch. You see a problem and you see a way to solve it that not everyone else is doing because they don't have the same point of view as you. So those are trailblazers. And what we do is we kind of take things to the next level. We take ideas to the next level. Sometimes we have a lot of ideas and it can be hard to decide which one to go with. The challenging thing is that as a trailblazer, you're pushing the limits and there's no blueprint to follow. There's no one saying, just do these steps. You can find those blueprints, but they don't really feel right to trailblazers because we're not cookie cutter. And that is kind of curse in a way. So the curse of the trailblazer is that sometimes you get so focused on that trail ahead and figuring out how you're going to move forward in something that may not have like an obvious way to do it, or someone else like that has done it before you. That's why you're blazing the trail. You're not just walking down someone else's path. And because you're so focused on that, other things in your business get left behind. Or you might begin to blaze a trail, but then you lose steam, you're not getting the response you wish you had, and so you don't actually follow through with the idea. And if you start a lot of those trails and don't actually finish them, it's very easy to start losing confidence in yourself and your ideas. So both of these avenues can be really frustrating for trailblazers because bottom line, sometimes being awesome is hard. Sometimes, being the pioneer and doing things in different ways that other people haven't seen before comes with its own set of challenges. And they're challenges that not everyone understands because it's kind of like, well, why don't you just do it this way? And that's because it doesn't feel right to you because you are innovative and you have, strong viewpoints on the way you do things. So how do you maintain your momentum with these awesome ideas without the rest of your business just falling by the wayside? So, how do you stay consistent with things while you're launching a new product? If you're experiencing kind of like a feast or famine cycle because you make this really big push for something, and then when the impact of that push goes away, you have this big lull in your business and you have to have another push, it's because you're not doing this thing. And this thing is creating habits. Habits are basically things that might start out as feeling inconvenient or difficult to do, not being able to fit them into your schedule, et cetera, et cetera. But a habit is something that happens hell or high water. It becomes something you don't even think about. You just automatically do it. So what you want to do is create habits that maintain the status quo of your business. And those things happen no matter what else is going on in your business, no matter what else is going in your life, these habits remain. And when you have those habits created, then you have the opportunity to pursue those other ideas. So what kind of habits am I talking about? So these are activities you do day in, day out, no matter what. They begin second nature. They become second nature. They might not start second nature. They become second nature, and they're easy to maintain. And then eventually, all or parts of them can be systematized or outsourced, because once you've done something a certain number of times and it becomes very easy for you, you can write down those steps and give them to someone else, and they can do it for you. So what kinds of habits are going to maintain the status quo? The status quo being like the minimum effective dose to keep your business going, to keep those leads coming in, to put you at a point where you're not worried about your revenue, and you can pursue those other ideas as kind of extras. So content creation that feeds your marketing. Your business cannot function without fresh content. So you need to create habits around creating that content, whether it's just sitting down once a week and writing a blog post, or for me, it's sitting down once a week and doing a LOBoratory. Once you get into the habit, and just to kind of share this, you guys know that recently we moved to a weekly schedule. What's funny is that when I was doing these bi-weekly, they took a lot longer to write. So bi-weekly, it would take maybe like an hour and a half or 2 hours to write, which doesn't sound like a lot of time, but that's almost half my day, because my boys are only in daycare for, a part of the day. I don't have full work days to do this. So I was really worried when I switched to a weekly schedule that I was not going to have time to do anything else. Since doing that, because it's become a habit, I think we're like at week 5 or 6 now of doing these weekly. Because this has become a habit, it's becoming second nature again. It's becoming easy, and it only takes about 30 minutes to write an entire LOBoratory. That LOBoratory then becomes so I download the recording, I send that to a transcriptionist. Within a couple hours, I have the transcription back. I send that to a writer who takes that transcription, turns it into an article, that becomes a newsletter. So that goes on my blog and it becomes my newsletter. So with that 30 minutes of effort, I've now fed, that also goes out on social media. So I've fed my blog, my newsletter, and my social media. That maintains the status quo. That keeps all of my marketing active. That keeps fresh content going out into the world to attract people to me. And it's a habit. I do it every week, and it becomes easier. And because I've done this enough, now I've systematized parts of it, sending it to a transcriptionist, sending that to a article writer, because the creative part is this part that I have to do. I used to do all of that myself. I never transcribed them because that's was unnecessary. But I used to write all of my own articles. I had a really hard time outsourcing that because of the creative aspect. So this gave me a way to do that and save time. So that's just one example of how to maintain the status quo with just one habit, just one. So there's other habits that you want to have in your business as well, like your newsletters, making sure that those are regular. You'd be surprised at the difference, again, between a weekly and a bi-weekly schedule. It makes a huge difference in how people are getting to know you and how easy it is for you to maintain. Once it becomes a habit, it's much easier. The more frequent you do something, the more it's going to become a habit. List building activities. So webinars, joint venture webinars, giveaways, telesummits. These are, again, not something you're probably going to do on a weekly basis, though you may if you're super ambitious. But just setting parameters for how many of these you need to have every quarter, every month, every 6 months, whatever that is. But having a, what is the minimum effective dose that I need to keep leads coming into my business, and making sure that that becomes a habit. For me, I do one JV webinar per month. And if I'm looking out a couple months out and I don't have any booked, that's when I need to start reaching out to people. Need to start reaching out to other potential partners that might want to do a webinar swap or that kind of thing. That keeps consistent leads coming into my business. I'm participating in a giveaway right now. I do those maybe 2 or 3 times a year. Telesummit, same thing. Right now, tomorrow I'm doing an interview for a telesummit. I do those maybe once a quarter. But having those built into your calendar so you don't have to think about them. And they just consistently bring leads into your business. So you need to sit down and write what needs to be done, how often, and in what time frame. That doesn't make sense. What needs to be done, how much of it, so that might be, one blog post, one webinar, one telesummit, whatever, and then how often. So what, quantity, and then when. And make a list. And those are the habits that you need to create in order to maintain the status quo of your business. Once you've chosen those habits that you're going to create, you're going to pick one at a time to implement. So don't look at this list and freak out because, how am I going to do all of this? I'm not even able to do all this now. That's the fun thing about habits. Like I said, they might take longer in the beginning. So writing an article once a week might take you an entire day a week when you start. But just like anything, once you've repeated the process a few times, once it starts to become second nature, that one day of work will start to get smaller until eventually it only takes you an hour to write an article. So you do this one at a time until it becomes comfortable. Now, my time is severely limited. I only work 25 hours a week. So for me, I can only implement one thing at a time. I know back in the day before, the husband and the kids and when my business was in the beginning, I had a lot more time. So I may have been able to take on more. So this is really dependent on you. What I want you to take away though is that you have permission to not do everything at once, because that will feel overwhelming and it will probably result in this not taking place. So once you've created these habits and your status quo is being maintained, now you can blaze your trails. Now you can start that new idea. Now you can do that launch. But don't let these other activities ever fall by the wayside, because then you're going to find yourself in that feast or famine cycle. So what do you do with all of these ideas? If I can't, jump on what I want to do right now because my status quo needs to be maintained, what do I do? So part of what's fun about an idea is that they're exciting. And you can get your heart set on it very quickly and want to jump in. I'm guilty of this. I get a really cool idea that are cool in my opinion. I'm really excited about it, and I send it out, before I've really thought it through or run it by someone else or, really sat with it for a while, and then I realize, maybe this isn't going to work so well. What I would suggest for you, and this is again one of those curse of the trailblazers, you have so many cool ideas, but then some of them fizzle out. Part of that is because you might be jumping on them too early. So what I would suggest doing is creating an idea book. I wish I had it to show you, a little notebook. It's metal, it's got a little pen in it, fits in my pocket. That goes everywhere with me. And I write down the ideas. And I come back to it, I review it usually once a month to see, what I want to start. It makes you become more intentional about what you're doing in your business. Less, flying by the seat of your pants, just taking ideas and putting them into place, and more, planning ahead what what you want to be doing and what that activity is going to create in your business. So write down your ideas, map them out. So if it's something for launch or like a process that you're thinking about, map it out. Get a mind map, get a piece of paper. I have these giant Post-it notes. They're like 3 by 2, like 3 feet by 2 feet that go on my wall. And I will sit there and scribble out the idea. I have them all over my office. And those act as outlines so that when I'm ready to do it, it's all right there. And that feeling you have when you have that cool new idea, it gets re-triggered once you've seen the outline and you know what that was supposed to look like. Because that's one of my big fears is, if I don't do this right now, am I ever going to forget why I was going to do it in the first place? And sometimes that happens. Sometimes I'll look at the idea in a book and it'll be like, I don't even know what that means. So that's why mapping it out and having all the details there makes it something that you can come back to. And then last but not least, prioritize. So priority number 1, maintain the status quo. Priority number 2, what do I want to do next? Looking at my calendar 6, 12 months from now, what do I want my business to look like in a year? Which of these ideas is going to help bring that vision to life? So sometimes the idea you have or the thing that you want to implement will take you further away from the vision you want to create. Sometimes that detour might feel worth it, and sometimes it won't. But if you're not checking in with that vision and prioritizing what you're going to do, that's how you get your business off track from where you really want to be. So make informed and intelligent decisions. So sometimes the urgency of the idea will fade as you let it sit, and that's okay. That's kind of what I was just talking about, where I write it down, and now I'm back to gotta make sure I do all those habits before I can do something fun. The urgency might go away, and that is not necessarily a bad thing. Because if you have let an idea sit for 3 or 4 days and suddenly, some doubts are popping up or you're realizing you're poking holes in the idea, those things are worth knowing before you jump into it. So in summary, following your trailblazing heart is awesome. You being a trailblazer means you have like a superpower. You have a special way of doing things that people need in the world. And that's great. Just don't neglect maintaining the status quo in your business to pursue those ideas. That is a surefire way to kill your momentum, your forward movement in your business, as well as those trailblazing ideas. And the more you do this, so the more you do your habits, the more confident you're going to be. The more you are able to complete your trailblazing ideas, the more confident you're going to be. And more confidence means more proficiency in your business and a stronger brand. So creating habits makes you more efficient and eventually makes it easier for you to outsource pieces of your business to others. The things that don't require your personal creative thinking and can be outsourced, kind of like I was saying with the transcription and the article writing. Those parts can be done by someone else. But the creative part has to be done by me. So that is the piece that I have to do every week. And sometimes allowing an idea to sit for a few days, writing it down on a piece of paper, making a map, and coming back to it is a good thing. It'll let you know whether or not it's really something you want to pursue, or if it was something that was just like the heat of the moment. And once that heat of the moment fades, you're not going to want to complete it. And that can hurt your credibility, it can hurt your confidence, and it can take your attention away from the vital activities in your business. So next week is August 16th. That's the day after my birthday. We're going to be talking about why the most successful coaches are not soloists. And I'm not seeing any questions in the Q&A. So I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your week, and I will talk to you on the 16th. Bye, everyone.